You know, when you think of philosophy, you probably picture someone quietly thinking, maybe in a university or an ancient academy, right? But what if one of the most powerful ideas in all of human history, this idea of a cosmic war between good and evil, wasn't born in quiet at all? What if it was forged in the chaos and terror of brutal real-world violence? We're going to dive into how the lived experience of an ancient prophet, Zarathustra, didn't just change his mind, it completely rewrote his entire reality.
And that, right there, is the big question. For Zarathustra, this wasn't some thought experiment. This was a terrifying reality he was trying to survive. And the answer he came up with? Well, it would echo for thousands of years.
All right, so here's our plan. We're going to start in a world that makes perfect sense, a world of order. Then we'll see the shock of violence that just smashes it to pieces. We'll watch how that crisis literally breaks reality, which leads to this revolutionary idea of two primal spirits. From there, we'll see how a local conflict gets blown up into a cosmic war. And finally, we'll land on a really crucial question. What does it mean when suffering itself becomes the evidence?
So to really get what a huge deal this was, we have to first understand the world that got replaced. Before Zarathustra, the ancient Iranian people saw the universe as a place of deep, reliable, fundamental order.
This whole worldview was built on one single, really powerful concept: Asha. The best way to think about it is like a master blueprint for all of reality. It wasn't just a set of rules for how to behave. It was the cosmic law that made sure everything, from the stars in the sky to the people on the ground, was exactly where it was supposed to be.
So what did that actually look like? Well, living by Asha meant life made sense. It was predictable, it was just. The sun came up, the seasons changed, society worked because everyone did their part. The world was fundamentally good, and your job was pretty simple. Just live in harmony with that goodness.
And then, boom, that whole ordered world just gets shattered. An unbelievable crisis erupts, and it's something that Asha alone just can't explain.
Okay, so to really feel the gut punch of this, you have to picture Zarathustra's world. It's a peaceful community of herders. Their entire life, their food, their wealth, their whole identity is wrapped up in their cattle. Life is stable, it's reliable, it's all governed by the principles of Asha.
But here's the kicker. A terrifying new force emerges from inside their own society. These aren't foreign invaders, they're fellow Uranians. So on one side, you've got the law-abiding herdsman, living by the rules, patiently doing his thing. And on the other, you have these predatory warbands who've completely abandoned tradition. They live only by violence, raiding communities, slaughtering people, and stealing cattle. This isn't just a crime, it's a complete and total rejection of that ordered world.
And this, right here, is where the whole system just breaks. The sheer brutality of these raids, the chaos, it was more than just people doing bad things. It was an existential threat. It felt like a tear in the very fabric of reality, and the old idea of Asha just wasn't enough to patch it up.
And this is the question that just explodes in Zarathustra's mind, right? If the universe is supposed to be fundamentally good and orderly, then where does this come from? Where does this brutal, destructive, senseless chaos fit in? It couldn't just be an absence of good. It felt like something else, something active and hostile.
So, this leads him to his first big idea. He identifies the total opposite of Asha, a force he calls drug. Now, this is crucial. He didn't see drug as just a mistake or a flaw in the system. He started to see it as its own thing, an active, aggressive force of pure chaos and deception.
Okay, now hold on, because this is where it gets cosmic. Zarathustra makes this incredible connection. He sees that the violent raiders worship their own gods, these beings called the Devas. And he comes to this stunning conclusion. The violence happening on Earth is a direct reflection of a choice made up in the divine world. These gods, the Devas, have chosen a side. They've allied themselves with wrath itself to actively hurt the world.
And all of this leads him to, well, his ultimate revelation. A totally radical new vision of the universe, designed specifically to make sense of a world that had just completely fallen apart.
Listen to this line from his hymns. It is a theological earthquake. He says that from the very, very beginning of time, there wasn't one great power, but two. Two primal, uncreated spirits. Not a god and some lesser bad guy, but two original twins, who are fundamentally opposites in their very nature. One is the better, and one is the bad.
So let's break this down.
This entire cosmic fight comes down to a choice made at the dawn of time. You have the Holy Spirit, Spenta, who chose Asha, order, truth, and from that choice created life. And then you have its twin, the evil spirit, Anger, who chose Drog, deceit, chaos, and created not life, basically death and destruction. Every single good thing in the universe flows from one, and every single evil thing flows from the other. And this is the truly mind-bending move he makes. He takes the very real, very painful conflict he's seeing in his own backyard and blows it up to explain the entire cosmos.
So let's just trace the steps of how he got there. Step 1, he observes the real-world disorder, the brutal raids. Step 2, he creates moral categories for the people involved. You've got the good guys, the law-abiding Ashavan, and the bad guys, the crooked Dregvan. Then comes this huge leap. He elevates this human drama to a metaphysical one. The fight in his village is actually a mirror of a cosmic battle. And finally, step 4, he gives that evil a name and an origin story. Angra Mainyu, an independent, active, and uncreated source of all destruction.
And the consequence of all this? It's massive. Reality itself gets a complete rewrite. The world is no longer a basically good place that has a few problems. No. For Zarathustra, the world is now a battleground. It is the main stage for a cosmic war between two eternal opposing powers. And every single choice a human makes is basically enlisting on one side or the other.
So this brings us to the real takeaway of looking at the world through this new, dualistic lens. What does it all mean when you're trying to understand a harsh reality? So what's the bottom line here? Zarathustra's story shows us that philosophy isn't always born in quiet libraries. Sometimes it's forged in fire. His great innovation was to stop seeing evil as a bug in the system and to start seeing it as a feature, an original, independent force. And look, while that is a terrifying vision of the world, it did one thing. It gave a coherent explanation for meaningless suffering. The pain wasn't random anymore, it was the work of an enemy.
And that leaves us with a really tough question, for him and for us. For Zarathustra, the brutal violence he witnessed was enough. It was enough to convince him that the entire universe was split down the middle between good and evil. So we have to ask ourselves, in our own lives and in the world we see today, at what point does suffering stop looking like just a problem to be solved and start looking like evidence that reality itself is at war?